and welcome to the Healthy Half Hour podcast. We are your hosts, Richard and Karen Inslee.
The Healthy Half Hour podcast is your resource for all things healthy, and we will be discussing how to make nutrition, fitness and lifestyle choices work for you.
We will be sharing our own personal insights along with research gathered from working in the health and fitness industry for the past 10 years.
Our show is brought to you by the 7 Day Shred, which can be found at 7dayshred.com, and please feel free to visit our podcast website, which can be found at healthyhalfhourpodcast.com.
And now on to today's show.
We're back again, and New Year's all done and dusted. We managed to stay awake till a whopping 10 o'clock on New Year's Eve.
Yeah, last year, you were flat out by 9:15 last year, so at least this year. But then again, we were still in a little bit of jet lag status this last year, so I mean, we'd not long, only a couple of days since we'd come back from the UK, so I mean, that's...
Yeah.
'Twas what it was, but no, we had a super cold New Year's Day as well. We dropped into the minus 30s, and yes, it was cool for a few days, and then only here it was +3 yesterday, so we had like a 32 centigrade Celsius temperature swing in about 3 days. So it went from minus 30 to +3. So I mean, it's been an interesting couple of days for sure.
Only in Manitoba, and fortunately we didn't experience the minus 65 Celsius with the wind chills that like places north Manitoba, like Thompson area, wasn't it? And then the Yukon as well, out west, got some pretty nasty.
It comes in cold, all right. It comes in cold.
So
today we're gonna
go on.
Chat about keto again.
Yeah,
we did a keto one, say probably 15 months ago, and again our knowledge changes as we go on, and clients obviously use it, and we're reading more, and there's actually been more research out about it now, and so again, what we said in that one, we may be repeating a little bit in this one, but there's new bits in there to add, and I mean, keto seems to be the big thing at the minute, but...
And I hate that it's been touted as a fad diet, but unfortunately, because of how people are using it, it is kind of a fad diet, because people are not using it primarily for health. They're using it for weight loss, and keto is basically getting the body healthy, and it does have a lot of benefits when it comes to reversing type 2 diabetes and treating cancer. So, and
like we've said before, I mean, weight loss really should be a byproduct of healthy eating. You shouldn't go out looking for weight loss. Weight loss should just occur because you're looking after yourself and looking after your body.
And my tagline is always, you can't lose weight to get healthy, you've got to get healthy to lose weight. And I know my brother Chris tagged me on a post in one of the keto Facebook groups, and this guy, I can't remember what his name is, and he said he'd come up with this phrase, but actually, and I joked on the, in the group on the thread that I'll have to get my lawyer involved because he's stolen my tagline, but I can't remember the name of the woman, but I'm actually reading a book right now on the low carb diet, and it was actually a woman in, I don't know, ways back that actually came up with that phrase. So it's not even his, it's not mine, it's
So basically what we'll start off with is really, what is ketosis? Because I mean, everybody's heard of the ketogenic diet and blah 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 blah, but what actually is ketosis?
What is it?
I don't know.
Ketosis
is actually an ancient mechanism that our body can rely on when food sources are low and maybe only higher fat or protein sources are available. So it's not necessarily that you're eating a higher fat diet or you're eating a low carb diet. You will actually go into ketosis pretty much when your body's blood sugar runs low. So, I mean, fasting is basically a form of a ketogenic diet, because what you're doing is your body starts to run on ketones. So you probably understand that your body will run happily on sugar, and sugar is its preferred fuel source. So with sugar being its preferred fuel source, your muscles, everything else, your brain all run happily on sugar. in the absence of sugar, your body will actually turn fats into what they call ketones, which is where the ketogenic diet gets its name from. Your body will run happily on ketones except for your red blood cell, I believe it is, and your brain. About 20% of your brain needs glucose to run. So your body can actually break down muscle tissue, and there's also a certain amount of sugar in fats, the glycerol backbone, which holds the fatty acids together. So there's little bits of sugar in there, and that sugar can be quite adequately made for the body to run on from those sources. So you don't necessarily need any food at all to go into the ketogenic diet. And again, those sugars will come from fats as they're broken down. So to get into a ketogenic diet, it's basically super low carb, no fruit, higher fat, lower protein, because again, proteins can be turned into sugar. So actually to remain in ketosis after you've fasted maybe, or you've basically gone on that ketogenic, or you've started that ketogenic diet, is to basically stay on those lower carbs, lower protein, higher fat foods.
But I was also reading an article the other day that it was actually illustrating how you don't actually have to be in ketosis to burn body fat, but also even if you are in ketosis, it doesn't guarantee that you will be burning body fat. And I just forgot to mention it about an email. We've mentioned Chris Kresser before, and he's in the US and does some like great articles, and I've subscribed to his email list. And he was the email title was about the low carb, high fat diet. And I jotted it down because it did make sense. And his email was saying that obesity has not been caused by an overconsumption of whole food carbs, such as sweet potatoes, starchy plants, and fruits. But obesity is actually being created by an overconsumption of processed carbs in the form of like bread, sugar, cakes, cookies, and candies. So, and there is actually a link off his email to a couple of studies. So I just advise people, if you don't mind adding another newsletter subscription to your inbox, then Chris Kress is like a great person to listen to. But a lot of people, when it comes to the ketogenic diet as well, they get a little bit OCD about, not going over their 20 grams or whatever grams of carbs that they've actually decided that they're actually going to stick to. And one of the things that we always say to people that don't go chasing after a body you want by following a life that you hate. Because if you're using keto just to lose weight and to look good naked, then basically that lifestyle might not be for you, because ketogenic diet can be actually pretty tough to stick to. Some people find it really easy.
Yeah, and I mean, everybody's, like we've said on previous podcasts, everybody's got their own buy-in.
Yeah.
And I mean, some people follow the keto diet and they buy the blood meter, or they buy the breath meter to actually see how many ketones they've got, know if the ketone level drops here, and the world's going to end, and blah, 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 blah. And then there's...
my pee stick isn't the right colour.
Well, again...
and those pee sticks are useless.
The pee ketones are the wrong ones to measure anyway. Again, that's a lot. There's books out there that go into depth on this. We're not going to say that go into depth with this today. But again, the blood ones and the breath ones, I mean, to me, really, who cares? You know what I mean? If you're feeling healthy, you're happy with your diet, and it's, why do those sort of things? But I mean, people are people, and the type A's that kind of bounce into this sort of diet, really just get hung up on those numbers. And if you're thinking of doing it, then that's up to you, but you don't need to get into those things.
And like I say, it does work for some people, and it works like phenomenally. But I was not listening. I was reading somebody's post on my Facebook feed a couple of weeks ago, and she was getting really frustrated because she was almost like talking to a brick wall, because she was trying to say to this person, the ketogenic diet is like fantastic. It's got these health benefits. It worked for me. And this person just wasn't listening, was just like bashing, saying, it's not healthy, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, well, just when you experience people like that, just let it go. And my advice with regard to anything, and like what we do with people is if we're following a protocol. I mean, when we were following paleo religiously, we didn't say to people, oh, you should be, following paleo. You should be doing this. This is working for me. Just kind of let people come to you and ask you about it, because when they're interested, they'll ask you, but also just make it clear that, hey, this is working fantastic for me. But when somebody doesn't want to listen, just walk away, because they obviously are not interested at that point.
And even, again, I've seen it with some clients who are couples and they've both done the keto diet together. And again, everybody's different, like we say, and it's worked well for one spouse and not the other. So again, some adjustment may be needed either side. But like we've said with vegetarianism before, there's nothing wrong with vegetarianism. People always feel great and lose weight, especially and again, with the keto one, because they tend to clean their diets up. And again, especially when you start a new food plan of some description like that, or like the keto, you stop eating chips, crackers, and all the rest of the garbage. Just a little aside, I mean, I first did the keto kind of style diet probably about 2 or 3 years ago, and I put weight on. One thing I never kind of realized or kind of thought about was you kind of get used to eating a certain amount of food. So a certain quantity of food. You look at a plate and you see a certain amount on there. One thing you have to realize, obviously with the ketogenic diet, you're going to be eating a lot more fat than what you would have been eating before. Remember, fat is 9 calories per gram and carbs and protein are 4 calories per gram. So if you look at a pat of butter or something like that, that is just a lot of calories crammed into a very small area, whereas if you looked something like a potato, it's not a lot of calories in a large area. So again, the volume you've got to look at. So just be aware of the adjustment in portion sizes and things that you're actually going to take on if you are going to take a higher fat diet.
And when it comes to the high fat diet, and I have mentioned this, like not just in the keto podcast before, is that the body actually responds better to a high fat meal in the morning as opposed to eating a higher fat meal at the end of the day. If you're like my brother Chris, you're following the carnivore diet, but your protocol is like 1 meal a day almost, just last thing at night. And if it works for you, great. But people who are eating higher fat meals later in the day is not the optimal when it comes to following the ketogenic diet, because like our gut microbiome actually...
Oh, not that word
I
again.
know. It actually changes throughout the day.
The word changes throughout the day.
It does, yeah. It changes every time I say it. Like I just should come up with my own dictionary. And our gut and its microbiome has its own circadian rhythm. And so the bugs that are in our system when we get up in the morning are actually different to the bugs that are in our gut when we go to bed. So
in quantity.
Well, they're different bugs. They're different bugs.
Where do the others go?
They hide. They go to bed.
Oh.
Yeah.
I thought you pooped them.
Well, you might do, but our gut microbiome is like circadian, and it's
a big word for a
It is.
day.
I lots of big words today,
Oh,
and
gosh.
I'm not actually doing
Fumbling.
too bad with them. Yeah. So, like you say, our body will actually handle a higher fat meal better first thing in the morning. So if you are following the ketogenic diet, and if you've had some like gut issues in the past, like just consider it, because obviously if their diversity is changing, it's changing their how your body's actually breaking down and processing the nutrients in your food. So higher fat meals in the morning, and maybe going for the protein and low starch like spinach and whatever vegetables like you're adding into your ketogenic diet. And also talking about high fat diets, with the ketogenic diet, a lot of people you see on social media especially, it's like, woohoo, I've got this get out of jail free card to actually eat a ton of cheese and just fatty foods and a gazillion like avocados, but constantly bombarding your body with a high fat diet isn't actually giving it a chance to rest. And it actually stops the body, or it can stop the body from using the fats in the desired way that your body should be using. So it actually shuts down the transport system that moves the fat into your mitochondria. And look, another big word.
You're killing it today.
Another big word.
Killing
And your mitochondria is responsible for taking nutrients from the cells, breaking them down and using them for energy. And this is one of the reasons that people actually plateau on the ketogenic diet. I see it on social media. People have been following it, seeing a great results, and then all of a sudden it's plateaued. What am I doing? And people are saying, oh, you have carbs too high, or your calories too high, do this. But like I said, constantly bombarding your body with a high fat diet isn't giving it the chance to rest. And like I say, it shuts down that transport system, that moves fat into your mitochondria. And when it comes to, the ketogenic diet, you've just mentioned about fasting and time restricted eating, and time restricted eating actually does enhance the ketogenic diet somewhat. So it will actually help with that transport system of those nutrients, like into the fat into the mitochondria. So basically, use time restricted eating as well, because when you're eating within a certain window of time, and you've done this in the past, haven't you? You've done the time restricted eating, and did you have success from it?
Yeah, because it kind of dealt into my work lifestyle more than anything, kind of the Monday to Friday thing. I was eating in an 8-hour window, so that's basically 8 hours on, 16 hours off. I would start, because we don't normally have supper till around 7, 8 o'clock. So depending on what time I was getting home from clients, I would eat my breakfast 11 o'clock, midday, something like that, and then just eat in that 8-hour window. Always be aware, if you're going to try that, is eat the same amount of calories in an 8-hour window that you'd eat in a normal day. Don't have just 1,000 calories because you only wanted to eat twice. If you're kind of looking at eating 1,400 calories or something, then again, you need to squeeze those 1,400 into that period of time, which again, talking of the volume of the food earlier on, it's easier to do on a higher fat diet because you're basically eating less volume. It's easier to take things around with you. They don't spoil as easy. So taking stuff to work, or like I have to take things in the car. So I mean, that's makes it life a little easier. And again, that's why sometimes that ketogenic diet is more attractive to people. Just what Karen was saying about the mitochondria and utilizing fuel, there is a certain time period. If you're, say, 40 and you've just been eating a standard Western diet for the last 40 years, your body is used to a certain amount of carbohydrates coming in, a certain amount of sugars coming in, and that will pretty much denote your energy level. So there's a certain time period of what they call fat adaptation. Because what you're trying to do with your body is you're trying to get your body to adapt, utilizing fat for fuel more than sugar, because it's not something it's been used to. All the mechanisms are in there, and I mean, it's something your body will change over to do, but there's always going to be that certain time adaptation. Some people actually call it the keto flu, because they'll change over to a keto diet, and for like 2 to 3 weeks after the diet, they'll feel like they've got the flu. They won't have the flu symptoms so much, but they'll just feel groggy, they'll feel slow, lethargic. Sometimes, again, just people just feel thick-headed because your brain's kind of starving for sugar and you're not supplying it, and the body's just having a little bit of a turnover period. It's the same for me when I've done like 5-day water fast before. Initially, if I stopped eating Sunday night, I wouldn't start to feel good or better until kind of probably Thursday morning. Now, if I do it, I feel better by Tuesday evening because now my body realizes, oh, he's doing that again. And the switch over to fat adaptation is a lot quicker for me. So there is that adaptation period. And again, be aware of keto flu. Not everybody, but some people could kind of suffer with that.
And we talked about the water fasting before, and I just did, I actually managed to get to 45 hours this last couple of days. I just did one, because I did one this time last January, and I've done a few throughout the year. And I found that, because I had my supper on Tuesday, didn't eat anything on Wednesday, and I wasn't even hungry at all on Wednesday. And normally I'd kind of like maybe not wanting to eat my arm and chew my arm off, but like, yeah, I obviously have adapted to following it better. But going back to that time restricted eating and eating within a certain window of time, like obviously a lot of people who are on the ketogenic diet are on it because they're type 2 diabetic or insulin sensitive. And a high fat intake, when you're actually insulin sensitive and taking in a high fat diet outside of that window of opportunity can actually negatively impact the fatty acid metabolism, and that fat intake can actually inhibit the beta oxidation process, which obviously is that catabolic process that where the fatty acid molecules are broken down in the mitochondria. So basically there's a lot of things that can actually go wrong in the process that's kind of outside of your control from a physiological perspective, but another reason why that time restricted eating is like beneficial.
And again, low carb diets can affect thyroid function negatively, so just be aware of that. And again, try a certain amount, again, macro ratios. So I mean, if you're looking at maybe going to the diet and you're choosing like 65% fat, say you're going to run with 20% protein and 15% carbohydrates, see how it goes for you. If it doesn't go too well, keep your protein at about the same level and then adjust by maybe 5%. So probably go 60% on the fat and maybe just go up to like 20% on the carbs. See how that works for you. If you're doing great on it, you maybe want to drop your carbs down a little bit to probably, I don't know, 10% or something, and then bring your fats up to 70%. Try and always keep the protein at that kind of steady level, because at the end of the day, protein is more of a repair macronutrient and the other two are fuel sources. So again, like we spoke on other podcasts, you don't really want to mix your fuel sources too much, because again, it kind of confuses the body a little bit. So if you're going to go high carb, fairly low fat. And if you're going to go high fat, go low carb, because again,
well, you've got to have loads of butter on mashed potatoes.
That's a treat. You and mashed potatoes.
I know, it's my kryptonite.
So just again, there's something to throw in there. Again, what macro ratios suit you might not suit anybody else. So again, use an app like Lose It, MyFitnessPal, something like that. Dial it in, have a look at it, put your numbers in, see what works. If you feel like, again, be aware for the first little while you are going to feel like you're being run over by a truck probably. Ease yourself into it, because I mean, that's one thing with the paleo diet.
Yeah, and so the paleo is like a perfect way to transition to the keto diet. And my brother Chris actually did that formula, and obviously now he's following the carnivore diet, as I said earlier. But paleo is a great place to actually start, because again, it cleans up the diet. It still allows you to have moderate carbs. And I'm going to talk about this just at the end of the podcast, but I'm actually doing some revisions to my 7-day shred book. And it's actually going to be a process of showing the difference between paleo and keto foods and doing that transition from paleo to keto and repairing the gut. But paleo at least allows you to still have moderate carbs. And like you just said, you need moderate carbs to convert T4 to T3. So people who start following a ketogenic diet often, or quite a few people, can actually develop hypothyroidism, or they will actually see their hypothyroidism symptoms actually get worse. And just when we have mentioned this one before as well, a friend of ours started following a vegan diet, and then the next thing we saw her on social media, and like 9 months later she was paleo. So I messaged her and said, oh my goodness, like what happened? And she says, yep, veganism was making me feel sick, I was ill, and her body didn't like it. So we've said that before to everybody, and as I said earlier, unfortunately, the keto diet is being seen as a fad diet right now. And even if you've done your research and you like the sound of it, but your body retaliates against it, and your body doesn't like it, you get past that keto flu and things are not going right, stop it. Don't try and force the issue, because your body's really clever and it will tell you what it needs. And Yep.
And that's the thing with that paleo diet. Again, paleo is a good stepping stone into keto, but paleo is also a good step back out of keto if you want to do that too. So especially we've just gone through the Christmas season, New Year's season. You go to grandma's, she's got this on offer, that on offer, sweet potatoes and all the rest of it. And it's going to knock you off your keto pedestal. Big deal.
Yeah.
Go slide
Who
into
cares?
slide into a paleo diet. Look more at go
Whole
paleo-esque foods, whole foods. Have those carbs. Enjoy after Christmas when you get your control back under you and you're not visiting with lots of people. Then get back into the keto diet if that's something you want to do. And again, it's an in and an out depending on what's happening. You go on vacation, say, and again,
people stress out if they go on a vacation. I don't know what to eat. I'm keto. Forget about it. Just eat your whole foods.
Maintain, don't gain, and just and once you, like I say, that adaptation period, the fat adaptation period reduces when your body gets used to it. You'll spring back straight into it when you get home again, if that's something you want to do. And I mean, we've done the keto diet before, and we've done paleo, and pretty much we're just kind of following the kind of paleo-esque thing again at the minute.
Whole foods, and I mean, we had some clients do some baked goods and gave them to you and some chocolates, and I don't know, we're not the sort of people that go crazy like on things like that, and I don't have a sweet tooth, so I've maybe had a few chocolates, but
there's still half a box downstairs, and we've had them for 3 weeks.
Yeah.
But every now and again, just have one here, have one there. But like I say, don't sweat it.
Yeah.
A lot of people, again, just get bent out. Like I said at the start of the podcast, people get bent out of shape about those numbers, whether they're in ketosis, whether they're not in ketosis, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, it's, like I say, it's a healthier way to eat. Again, you're picking at those ancestral mechanisms that are in the body. And I mean, it's not going to harm you in any way.
Sorry, go on.
What I was just going to say, one add on to that is if you have insulin problems, so basically maybe you're not type 2 diabetic, but if you're like type 1 diabetic and you're actually injecting insulin, be aware that ketones are actually regulated by insulin as well. Not just your blood sugar level, but ketones are regulated by insulin. So what can happen with people who are type 1 diabetic and they're injecting insulin is they don't know how much insulin to put in their body to counteract high ketone levels. And that can lead to something called ketoacidosis.
And that's where people who don't understand what that is start spouting off the keto diet's unhealthy because all they've heard of is that, but they don't understand they don't understand
the mechanism of it. They think that just because you go into ketosis, and if you're a normal healthy adult, then you're going to be fine. Even if you're overweight, type 2 diabetic, you're going to be fine. It's your body's going to adjust to it. But if you're not producing insulin, again, just because those beta cells in the pancreas have stopped working and you are injecting, then keto diet ain't for you. Basically, a low-carb diet is for you. Keep probably 50, 100 grams of carbs a day. That's something you can regulate. And blood sugar will be obviously regulated by your insulin. You'll use a lot less insulin than what you would on a standard diet, but that you won't get into that ketoacidosis.
And like we said, it's all about health at the end of the day. So as I mentioned about the need for moderate carbs to convert T4 to T3 when it comes to hypothyroid conditions, if it's a decision between whether you're in ketosis or you're on thyroid meds, I know which one I prefer to be. I'd rather be off the meds. Like, I mean, if you need a higher starch, and we're talking about whole foods like carbohydrates. We're not talking about processed carbs. So, the whole point of our theories is it's whole food, real food sources, and like I say, some people thrive on it, they love it, other people find it undoable because they like the variety in the food, and you function better on a higher fat diet, and I function better on having sort of whole food carbs and starches in my diet. Not huge amounts. Some nights we'll have more. Tonight it's going to be curry, so it's going to be 1,000 calories of garlic naan bread. But again, we don't beat ourselves up over it. It's I hate those trainers that say, oh, it's a cheat day or a treat meal. It's like, no, it's just a meal. It's one meal out of 21 in the week. And when it comes, we mentioned about being vegan and vegetarian, and a lot of people thrive on it. Well, a lot, but they are actually the minority. So if you're a vegan and you thrive on it, you are in the minority. And so when it comes to glycolytically demanding sports and you want to follow a ketogenic diet, yes, some people can do that, but you're in the minority, believe it or not. So if you want to perform glycolytic demanding sports, then basically you probably are going to have to bump your carbs up and you're probably going to come out of ketosis, but typically it would be maybe around a race or an event though, wouldn't it?
And again, everybody's different with how conditioned their muscles are, how much sugar they use. And I mean, a lot of endurance athletes now, like triathletes and marathon runners, again, not the elite marathon runners, but kind of fairly decent time marathon runners, a lot of them are doing it on keto now, and a lot are actually utilizing body fat, and they found their energy levels are really good. Again, there's a long fat adaptation period to this. You can't just go keto next week and run a marathon the week after.
Oh, you can't? Oh.
Well, you could try. We're talking months and months and months, probably 6 months. And again, these are fairly high-level athletes, but there's fairly high-level athletes who are vegan. So, I mean, it's horses for courses, everybody each to their own. And again, like Karen said, these people that excel at these things write books about it and tell everybody else to do it because that's apparently going to save everybody when really at the end of the world it's not. Karen mentioned earlier on about a book that she's just modifying now. So
yeah, we've talked about my 7-day shred book, which is focused around the FODMAP diet. And obviously you keep saying over and over again, get the body healthy before you try to lose the weight. And the FODMAP diet basically will remove all those sugars out of your diet. It'll repair the gut. And so what I've actually been working on, and I'll keep posting on social media and giving updates as we do our podcast, but it'll probably be towards the end of this month that it'll be ready to be launched. But it's going to be a revision of the 7-day shred book, but what it's going to be is like a 3-step process. So it's going to be the FODMAP diet. The basis of the book is going to be the same, but it's going to show you how to follow FODMAP with a strict keto ingredient list and then a relaxed keto ingredient list. And then it's going to transition you to paleo, again, strict paleo, relaxed paleo, and then a transition into keto. So there's going to be different graphics and charts and recipes and just a big explanation along, you know, what we cover in the podcasts, and just getting the gut healthy and then illustrating how, like we said, you go on holiday, relax things, but it's going to give you strategies so that you can, okay, well, I'll follow this formula while I'm away, or, you know, social events or something.
In the meantime, with that, on my website at rpefitnessinc.com, I will put a link in the show notes to this. I just put a free keto-like starter diet plan on there. Just gives a little bit of background, again, kind of a cliff notes about what we've spoke about today, and some MyFitnessPal snapshots just so you can have a look at it.
And I don't know if you're following us on social media, but we've got the Healthy Half Hour Podcast Instagram account. My Healthy Way Everyday Instagram is going to have details of my book launch and some pictures and some little teasers as to what's going to be in the book, and just some recipes and other things. Like, I just keep trying to put as much stuff on there as possible. And I don't know, I never look at my Instagram username. I think it's healthyway_ED for every day, I think, because obviously I can't have more letters on it. And one of the things that I want to try and get across to people is because obviously a lot of the MLM companies like Ketogenic, It Works, and like Beachbody, and like I'm not picking any out in particular. It's just those are the the main ones that you see posted on social media, they are all jumping on the bandwagon of their products and processes are the best keto. But at the end of the day, you don't need anything in a packet, and you just need whole foods. And if you follow my Instagram, healthyway_ed, I'm actually going to give you a tip on what to use in bulletproof coffee to give you energy, as opposed to using any MLM commercial product in there. So you need to start following me.
You're a tease.
I know. I'm not going to give it away. You got to follow me first.
Then just delete it.
Stalk me. You can stalk me.
Then just delete it.
Yeah. No. Still keep following me. Yeah.
So pretty much wraps it up. Like I say, I'll put a link in the show notes to my little starter guide. It's in the free stuff section on the menu. And next time we're going to talk about a surprise, because we don't know. We're back on that again.
Yeah, how to give somebody a surprise.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah,
that's going to be no listens on that one. Thank the 5 people for tuning into this, and we'll see you next time.
That's all we have time for right now, but we do hope that you join us for our next show. And if you want to contribute to an upcoming show by suggesting a topic that you would like us to discuss in more detail, then hop over to our website, healthyhalfhourpodcast.com, subscribe to our podcast and submit your suggestions. The Healthy Half Hour Podcast was brought to you by the 7 Day Shred, and don't forget to share our details with your friends and review our show. Until next time, thanks for listening.